So, hi everyone. I'm Anjana. I'm from IIT Jodhpur, which is Indian Institute of Technology, Jodhpur. Today, I'll be representing my research team, and I'll be presenting our research title, Modified Elito Method for Identifying Issues Hindering Achievement of SDG Goals in Southern Districts of Rajasthan, India. So, moving ahead, basically, the recent Asian Pacific SDG report 2024 suggests that the achievement of 2030 agenda for sustainable development in Asian region is lagging behind the estimated schedule by 32 years on all 17 goals. This actually prompts us to think about localization of SDG as a bottom-up strategy that can stand as an effective strategy to achieve these goals and targets, especially in the low and middle income countries. So moving further, localization of SDG relates to how the larger SDG field can guide local development policies and also how the local and regional governments through their bottom-up approach can contribute towards the achievement of SDG goals. Here, context becomes an important parameter, be it in setting the goals and targets or designing the implementation strategies and uh, understanding the measures to monitor the progress in these contexts. So context is the key here. So we'll dwell a little bit into the localization of SDGs in Indian context. So the convergence of India's national development goals with SDGs was put into action by identifying developmental indices for all states and union territories. And it's intriguing to observe that these indices illustrated a high degree of disparity among states and union territories, which actually reiterates the importance of local pocket-based developmental initiatives. Now, this is actually the framework of SDG implementation in Indian context. So, Niti Aayog, which is a think tank of the government of India, is a nodal agency which is coordinating all the activities of SDG in Indian context. So there is a sort of participatory planning and monitoring and implementation that happens at the level of the center, states and district, which is actually observable here. So it actually works in three levels and it's all mutually, they work together. It's mutually inclusive and they work together to achieve these targets. Now, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation is a nodal agency which takes care of developing monitors, developing indicators to measure the progress. Now, as we understand, India being culturally, politically, and linguistically very heterogeneous, localization of SDG is actually a very challenging task. Now, but however, we see that there's synergy between the larger SDG framework and the Gram Panchayat development plans. So the Gram Panchayat development plan is basically a participatory decentralized approach where the local community and the elected representative at the grassroots level work together to address local developmental issues. Another scheme that is worth mentioning is the Rastriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, which focuses on reimagining Panchayati Raj institutions as vibrant centers of self-governance and economic growth. This is also aligned to the larger SDG goals, and it also works at the grassroots level. Now, having laid a context of localization in Indian context, now I'll move on to the objectives of this particular study. Now, the primary objective is to understand local developmental issues that are hindering the localization of SDGs in southern districts of Rajasthan. Also, we would like to bring multiple stakeholders to bring multiple perspectives in this issue. And we are also interested in bringing like context-specific issues which are very particular to certain districts. Now, this is a map of the study region. So as we see here, Jalore, Bilwara, Varan, Kota, Jhalawar, Chittorgarh, Udaipur, Pratapgarh, Dungarpur, and Banaswada were the 10 districts of southern Rajasthan which were selected for the study. There were 67 research participants for the study. So this was a very diverse team. It included local villagers, local academicians who were working in this region. There were block development officers from these districts. And also there were representatives from UNICEF Rajasthan and Aravali NGO, which works closely with the government of Rajasthan on localization and local governance issues at the ground level. So having said that, I'll just move on to the methodology part. Now, the methodology is basically focused on understanding so good. So good is the acronym we would like to talk about. So good is basically what you saw on the ground. So this is basically what are the developmental issues that you see on the ground. And O represents what are the opinions on these issues and what are the observations regarding these issues. Now W represents what are the working schemes that works on the ground. And G is basically on what are the greatest important, it's the greatest important board where we talk about what are the schemes that are running importantly on the ground. And O is basically order, which talks about the sequential order of these schemes that happens at the ground level. And the rest two alphabets basically represents original design, which is a team exercise. I'll delve a little more into this in the next coming slide. So I'll just talk about the implementation of So Good method. Now, So Good method is basically a modified form of Elito method, which is qualitative in nature. It's basically a design process which helps to capture random nonlinear thinking. Now, there were 6 boards which were given for this activity. So the first 2 boards, which were the actual fact board or the photo board, and the opinion board, which were catering to the local villagers and the local academicians. So the initial board we had to, like we were, we had given the instruction to all the research participants to capture images of local development issues on their districts and villages. So they had to take images as a concrete proof. Now, the opinion board is more about what are the observations. So for the actual fact board, we also did ask them to bring written data sets, which was fine, but photographs were emphasized. Now, the working scheme board and the greatest importance board were both catering to the block development officers. Now, the working scheme board basically discussed about what the schemes that are actually working on the ground. And the greatest importance board is more about sequentially arranging which schemes are actually given importance at the ground level. Now, the order board and the original design board are full team exercise. So in the order board, all the stakeholders from a district had to work together to actually visualize what are the flaws in the current scheme of things. Now, the original design board was more of a synthesis where we could come up with solutions for these problems and how we could actually help design better strategies, which are actually essential in the ground. So that was the original design board all about. Now, moving ahead, this was actually a visual representation of how the activity was conducted. And these are some snippets into the activity which was conducted. So we had multiple data points that was coming in, and we started crunching the data. So initially, correlation analysis were emphasized. So Minitab statistical tool was used for this purpose. Now, moving further, there were multiple local development issues in these 10 districts of southern Rajasthan. So as we see, this correlation metrics talks about the different, the correlation between different parameters of the study. Now, issues in solid waste management, water crisis, animal encroachment into human settlements, child marriage, lack of education, public health concerns, were all problems in the ground. Now, the crimson color of this actually talks about the directly observable relationship between variables, whereas the blue talks about hidden correlations, which actually influences a larger interlinked framework of SDGs. Now, moving ahead, now we'll dwell upon each and every factors in detail. Now, to talk about water and soil erosion. So water has a positive correlation with education in these regions. So these are basically water deficit regions. So water and education has a positive correlation. When there is availability of water, children could go to schools, especially this is a prominent case of girls. Moving ahead, we see that health issues are affected by soil erosion. Another important, I'll delve into that point later, but another key observation which we need to talk about here is the relation between child marriage and soil erosion. We see a correlation of 1. which actually means that this would mean that the villages sell off the eroded landscapes in return for money, or they may marry their children in return for money as bride price or dowry, re- to re-establish the soil in these eroded landscapes. So this observation has been made in previous papers as well, but the study also depicts a correlation of one between these two variables. Now, water erosion is also prominent in these areas. Now we'll look a little more into the water schemes that are running on the ground. So as we see on this polar plot on the right side, these regions of Kota, Udaipur, Pratapgarh, Jhalawar are areas where there is plenty of water resources available in comparison to other districts of Rajasthan. However, the graph on the left side actually shows that we need to focus on education. Now, without proper knowledge and awareness, even if there is water resource, it is not managed properly. So, water management and education goes hand in hand. So, when proper education is given, water management is better, and which actually helps in better GPDP. Moving ahead, now we'll focus on the next parameters, that is health and education. Now we see that in this region, child marriage is very prominent, again with a correlation of 1. So as we see, Rajasthan is basically a AG state, which is an empowered action group state. As per as per the statistics, research statistics. So important action group states are basically states where total fertility rate, maternal mortality rate, and neonatal mortality rates are very high. So in this area, we see that child marriages creates a serious concern for health management. So child marriage also leads to pregnancy complications in children as well as mother, which is very problematic in this region of southern Rajasthan as well. Now, another prominent correlation we see here is between health issues and digital literacy. So, Bamasha health cards, soil health cards. So, there are multiple digital interventions happening in terms of digital health and soil health cards. So, being digitally illiterate puts people more in a disadvantageous position to access these benefits of social welfare schemes. Now, moving ahead, we also see that education and unemployment are highly correlated. Now, we'll delve a little more into the education aspect, which is also again related to sanitation. So, education, as we see on the right side, this is basically the graph on literacy rates in these districts. So, we see a stark disparity between the literacy rates of different districts of southern Rajasthan, which actually creates an imbalance in southern Rajasthan's quest for development. So there are multiple reasons for illiteracy, and it includes children dropping out of school at an early age due to ineffective teaching practices, due to teacher absence, and also there is very less infrastructure for children, and also in rural Rajasthan, there is very poor student to teacher ratio, and also the teachers are residing in a distant place from the rural area, so commuting every day feels difficult, and so there is less attendance among teachers. So this has been depicted in other studies as well, which is mentioned here. So moving ahead, we'll now look into the next parameter, which is unemployment and family migration. As we see here, this particular region of southern Rajasthan is agriculture dependent, and the economy is more into agriculture. So we see that there is ineffective GPDP plans related to agriculture, which has resulted in family migration in these regions. Also, we see that water is the quality of water, decrease in quality of water, quality of education, lack of availability of water, which is basically the quantity of water, has all influenced family migrations in these regions. We see that water is, this is predominantly agriculture dependent, water plays an important role in influencing migration in these regions. Also, we see that there has been a slightly change in the land use pattern in these regions with more urbanization and businesses coming up, which means that the farmers usually give off their land, and which in turn reduces their farming produce, and gradually they leave the land and try for other livelihood opportunity. So the skill of agriculture is lost, which is a serious concern, and this also creates unemployment among these farmers, which is actually illustrated in this plot. All these factors actually leads to migration among the families. Moving ahead, another key concern is solid waste management. So solid waste negatively impacts water quality, as we can see here. And also soil erosion creates a lot of solid waste. Now, the erosive aspect of soil is also causing issues in health, because the dust from the soil creates dust allergies and similar issues like that. And also soil erosion and deforestation has led to the loss of ecological habitats of animals, and the animals are encroaching human settlements. This has created a more interaction between human and animal, which is creating multiple health issues, including sanitation issues due to the dung of these animals in the human habitational regions. Mining is another parameter that needs mentioning. Like, mining also has contributed directly to soil erosion in these regions. Now, improper management of waste from rural health centers is another major observation in these areas. Now, moving ahead, we see that, as I've already mentioned, the destruction of forested landscapes in major parts of southern Rajasthan, which is mostly the area where there are forests in this region, because the northwestern Rajasthan is more of a deserted region. So the forested landscape, so this destruction of ecological habitats has led to more of animal encroachment into human settlements. Now, and this is another point that needs mentioning, that stray animals have influenced so much that it has been included these days in the curriculum of school-going children. Now, moving ahead, we see that excessive mining is one of the reasons for destruction of animal habitats in this region. So here we basically talk about the different infrastructural unavailability that is creating problems in local development issues here. Now we see that there is also infrastructure unavailability in case of stray animals, and also since this is basically an agriculture dependent community, their animal rearing is a subsidiary activity they do with agriculture, which means there is cattle rearing happening, there is solid waste that is being generated, and there is no proper infrastructure to manage these solid wastes. Sorry for the pronunciation mistake. Yeah. Just to talk about infrastructure also plays an important aspect in education. As we see here, infrastructure is a key component in education. Without infrastructure, education will not help achieve GPDP. So infrastructure along with education helps to achieve GPDP. Now, mining, as I have mentioned, is a serious concern, and so afforestation and afforestation of these areas is necessary to prevent soil erosion and as well as to limit animal encroachment into the human habitational regions. Now, moving ahead, we'll move on to the next analysis of the study, which is principal component analysis. Here we are trying to identify the parameters which are actually hindering Gram Panchayat development plans in these areas of southern Rajasthan. We have identified 5 different key components which are influencing GPDP. So solid waste management, water availability, soil erosion, health issues, and education are the 5 principal components, which finally gives the linear sum, which finally, when summed up, gives GPDP. So GPDP is a response parameter in any case of a village, since it's an indicator of SDG implementation of the village. So as we understand, the Gram Panchayat development is synchronous with SDG. So when the Gram Panchayat development plans are functioning properly, multiple local development issues will be addressed, and this in turn contributes towards achievement of SDG goals. So just to move ahead, now we see a loading plot here. So as we see, child marriage, uh, digital illiteracy, soil erosion, and health issues are highly related to each other. So in these areas, as we see, there is digital illiteracy among the population, and there is soil erosion, which is leading to child marriage, and there is health issue in this region due to soil erosion. So improving digital literacy in health can actually help soil. Digital literacy will contribute to better health, and as they can access health due to health due using telemedicine and other interventions, and also this also helps them to get the benefits of soil health card and schemes like that, which will again contribute to less child marriage and towards better health outcomes. So as we see, there are multiple policies that are already in the ground which talks about improving their digital literacy at the ground level. Now moving ahead, we see that agriculture issues and GPDP are closely related, as we see an acute angle here in the loading plot. So as this is primarily an agriculture-based economy, the lack of interventions in agriculture like micro irrigation systems or different advanced irrigation systems and use of advanced technology in agriculture, due to lack of all these, the GPDP of the area is not improving. Similarly, we see the strong correlation between education and sanitation here. So as we understand and as we have seen earlier as well, that sanitation is a key component. Toilet infrastructures in these villages can actually help children attend the school. So we see a correlation there. Also, another important correlation which we see here is that is between soil erosion and animal encroachment. So we need to prioritize preventing soil erosion so that this can also decrease animal encroachment in these areas. So decreasing the rate of anthropogenic activities such as mining and promoting afforestation needs to be focused on these areas. Another issue that needs mentioning here is the relationship between solid waste management and agriculture issues. So as agriculture also involves catering, there is a lot of solid waste that is being generated. And in case of agriculture, there is plowing, which releases dust, and there is waste after the agriculture produce. There is no proper infrastructure to manage these solid wastes. So these needs to be addressed under this using schemes under Swachh Bharat mission can positively bring development in southern Rajasthan. Moving ahead, now we look into the major schemes that were active in the ground in the last decade. So there were multiple schemes, as we see on the graph this side. There were multiple schemes that were active, but two schemes that needs discussion is RGSC, as we have mentioned earlier. So this is basically helps in local governance at the ground level, which also this RJSC scheme also aligns with the larger SDG goals. So this was active in all the 10 villages of this area. Oh, sorry, not the 10 villages, 10 districts of southern districts of Rajasthan, southern Rajasthan. And another scheme is Narega, which is a livelihood security scheme, which ensures that an adult member of the family can get 100 days of, at least 100 days of payment, guaranteed wage employment in a financial year in doing skilled or unskilled work. So this Narega scheme has been adopted in all the 10 districts without fail. Now these are the two major schemes at the ground. Now having said that, I will move on to the conclusion of the study. So we have seen that we have worked on the 10 districts of southern Rajasthan, which includes Banswara, Baran, Bhilwara, Chittorgarh, Dungarpur, Jhalot, Jhalawar, Kota, Pratapgarh, and Nair. And we have seen the local development issues in all these areas, which are hindering localization of sustainable development. Now we understand that the geographically decentralized understanding of SDG implementation is essential to address these local challenges. During the principal component analysis, we have identified 5 different factors like solid waste management, water availability, soil erosion, human health, and education, which, when addressed, can actually improve the Gram Panchayat development plans, which will in turn contribute to a better outcome at the SDG level. So it's basically that we understand what are the local development issues that needs to be addressed here. So we see that water erosion and improper water management has negatively affected education and employment, which is leading to family migration in these districts of southern Rajasthan. Also, we see that soil erosion and landslide due to erosive aspects of climate and moving, along with anthropogenetic activities, and which has led to ecological habitat destruction, leading to increased annual encroachment in human settlements. So this basically brings more solid waste into the human settlements, which again causes health issues and puts a burden on the health systems. Illiteracy is another serious concern that needs to be read with other structural issues like children dropping out of school, which is again, as we have seen, is due to lack of infrastructure, specifically toilet infrastructure in schools. There is poor student teacher ratio and poor teacher attendance. These things needs to be resolved to solve the educational problems in these districts of southern Rajasthan. Now, unemployment in a predominantly agrarian region of the society, like the southern region of Rajasthan, is a function of different parameters like water availability, the quality of education, lack of availability of proper infrastructure in the villages. And as we have seen, the quality of and quantity of water is one key factor in migration in these regions. And the 2 schemes which were acting profoundly in the ground in these 10 districts were Rastriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, which is on local self-governance at the ground level, led by the like local villagers as well as elected representatives, and the Nareka schemes. These are being trusted in, these are the important trust areas in these locations. So I think we have actually understood what are the key factors that needs emphasize that we need to emphasize to achieve the goals of sustainable development goals, at least in these areas of these 10 districts of southern Rajasthan. So I have come to an end of the presentation. I can go for any kind of questions or clarification if necessary. Thank you so much for listening.